Morning.
Good morning.
Welcome back. Today's topic is how to feel like an awesome parent. So often we talk about tapping and how we tap in the heat of the moment and tap on the unserving emotions. But today we're going to focus on tapping in. I feel like an awesome parent. I am an awesome parent. And how that works is we notice the resistance when we say that and then tap on the resistance. So, Ilka, how does that work? How does tapping work?
Well, tapping, as you've seen us do many times, and some of you are coming along to our tap-alongs on Thursday nights, and encourage you to do that. But tapping is a process of, there's two different things that tapping does. It is an interrupting process, so you're interrupting what you're focusing on. So if we're focusing on a problem, that's when all of the emotions will, or we're triggered by our children, we'll notice the feeling in our body. And it's usually something, like Joe says, it's an unserving emotion, like it's not something you really want to keep around. So we can tap to interrupt that and notice your fingers tapping. Really focus on your fingers so they become what we call it defracking, which is really a made-up word that comes from a hypnotic process. Actually, they use in hypnosis, which is fractionation, but which is to take you deeper into a state of being. This is to bring you out of a state of being. So this is what we can use tapping for, and also tapping taps on the different meridian points in the body, the bladder, small intestine, the stomach meridian, the kidney meridian here. So when we're tapping on those points, the organs that produce the adrenaline or the fight, flight, freeze responses are actually calmed. So, and they've done studies on this where people have been put on even their blood pressure being taken and their heart rate being taken. And as they're tapping, it's been proven that all of that goes down. You become a lot calmer. So when if we focus on an issue and tap at the same time, then we're changing our state of being in the moment. And it's a really, really powerful process. And it really works. It really works, and it works really fast and quickly. And you can, your fingers are right there. So,
It's free.
And it's free.
At your fingertips.
Yes. So it is a really, really cool process to use.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So when we're working with something positive that we truly want to believe about ourselves, like I am an awesome parent, it's that really going into that belief and feeling what comes up for you, feeling what's going on in your body or your mind that tells you that that's not true.
Yes. So you could make this a little project for yourself. So you could even have it on your mirror in the morning, or just say, I'm going to practice this while I'm in the shower, or even you can one hand tap driving, or you can tap at the traffic lights, So be careful. But you can pick a time of day, even on the toilet. You can decide that you're going to tap on being an awesome parent, and you focus on that thought, and you notice what happens inside of you when you focus on it. So you might say, I'm an awesome parent, and then you'll hear, like, for me, I kind of hear, no, you're not. But for other people, it might be a feeling in their body. For other people, you might see something that says to you, oh, you see that last time that you yelled at your child. And so you're interrupting, like focusing on being an awesome parent with what we would call the subconscious is coming in. So that's when you notice those things, and then you tap and just say to let them go. I'm letting it go. And focus on your fingers tapping, the feeling of them tapping, the sound of them tapping, and really take your attention away from those resistant thoughts. What you're seeing, what you're hearing, that's in resistance to this.
You can also, if it helps you, which it did help me, is give yourself like a number from 1 to 10 of the power of that resistance. This is a way for analytical people like myself who like numbers. It's like a test and measure.
Yes.
I can do a few rounds of tapping and then check back in with how I feel when I say that statement and recognize whether I feel less resistance. So it might come down from a 10 to an 8, and I can keep going until it comes lower and lower and lower.
Yes, very good. So what you go and just go in, and as Joe said, you can say, oh, well, it feels like an 8 out of 10, or it's that intensity. And then for me, so I'm noticing that sound, if it's a visual for you, if it's a feeling, it could be all three of those things. And then you're noticing that again and just tapping again and saying, let it go. And you can repeat the affirmation as you're tapping. I am an awesome parent. I'm a great parent. I do awesome things with my kids. We often have fun. Yeah. And we're connected. I'm a loving parent.
I often be there for them emotionally when they in their emotional moments. I can be there fully present with them. That's a big one for me.
Yes, I can be there with them. I can be present. Yes. So just noticing all of these things that these affirmations, you can write them all down so that you can tap along and say them to yourself. And then I usually take a big deep breath in between tapping rounds. All away, and I grab my wrist, and you can also have a happy place that you go to. And if you're coming along to our tap alongs, you'll learn more about how the fast reef tea style tapping works. We have somewhere we could go, and it's really good if you were tapping on this to even write down some of the happy times that you've had with your kids, the funnest times, so that you can get your mind to practice going to those fun times, because the mind is really geared for survival. And that is why, if you've ever asked yourself, why do I tend to go to the negative? And why does the news have such, hopefully not these days, but why do, programs that are full of fear and drama seem to have the biggest ratings? It's because our mind is so good at going to the negative. And it's really, you've got to start training yourself to let go of all of that and then focusing on the positive. It's really like going to the gym. Like Joe and I often say, it's not that dissimilar to training your muscles to do something. You're training your brain to be able to focus on, and over the years, sometimes, for me, I got so good at focusing on I'm not good enough. I could get myself into that spiral pretty quickly if I wanted to. And if somebody triggered me in my life, I was going down that rabbit hole. And that's really when you won't feel like tapping, but that's the best time to tap. So that's heat of the moment. Yeah.
Because you're already in that rabbit hole. Hey, you're already in for me, a low level of fight, flight, freeze.
Yes.
And so I'm there. So it's easier for someone to trigger me and send me further down that rabbit hole.
Yes.
The whole idea is like to tap on the unserving emotions when we feel them. If we can automatically go to our breath and to tapping to something that interrupts those trains of thoughts that just keep getting stronger, and as we practice those thoughts over and over again, I'm not good enough, they get stronger, they get easier to come back to automatically. So we're changing that.
Yes. Someone did heat of the tapping last night. Yay! Heat of the moment tapping is a lot, it's life-changing stuff. If you can pull yourself out of what we call those big trances, you're really just going into a subconscious pattern from childhood, and we explore that deeper in our courses, and the people that come along to our more in-depth tapping calls where we go back and we really change where all of this comes from. But talking about tapping on resistance, And this kind of tapping is a great habit to get into, because then you can pull it out of the box too. When you've tapped on the heat of the moment tapping, you can go back to using it. So you can say, you know, I am an awesome parent. And especially if you've got a few of those amazing times in your life with your kids, you know, maybe it's the time you went to the pool with them, or it can be anything where you can really feel like you had a really great day, and you can start using that and training your brain to go there instead of into anything else. So, and even in the times where you feel like you know, you're the worst parent in the world for the day, you know, you practice coming out of those states. So that is, resistance tapping, heat of the moment. Yes, that's so cool. Yeah, kids love it too, because you start doing funny things, and so that's a much better way to be. Start singing Jingle Bells. Yeah, you can use all sorts of fun defracts. One of the other mums was telling me how she was somewhere supporting a friend one day, and didn't want to, there was a lot of people around, and she didn't want to be tapping, so she was just using I often do the chicken, and it's like, bark, bark, bark. And so she was doing this in her mind. And you can kind of mentally tap as well. Like you can just kind of go, I'm tapping, like imagine you were tapping. But doing the animal sounds or singing a funny song to yourself is also a way to break yourself out of a trance. You've got to understand you're getting into trances. This stuff is not true. You are an awesome mum, and you have the possibility of anything in the future. Like the future is infinite possibility, and we tend to not believe that when we get triggered.
Also, I used to, or I still do, loud music in the car. But in the lead up to hopping in the car and putting on loud music to and enjoying it, I have to give myself permission to change the trance, like to have the awareness to recognize I'm in a trance, but also go, this is not me. It doesn't have to be this way. Yes. I can change this. It's okay to feel better.
Yeah, it's okay to feel better. And if you're listening to this and you're thinking, but aren't we supposed to acknowledge our emotions? If that's a question that's coming up for you as we're talking, well, yes, it is something to like acknowledge. If you're feeling really sad, or you're feeling, but I mean, if you're beating yourself up, it's really not conducive to, that's not really serving you in your life. So if you're telling yourself, like I used to do a lot, that you're not good enough, or I'm not present enough, or
I'm not kind, gentle, compassionate, caring enough.
Yeah. Then to me, that's something that you want to really, but you know, if something happened where something, you felt like you lost something, whatever, and you got sad, well, yes, you can notice that you want to experience sadness for a while. But the question, and if you're new to this group, you will heard me, I might not have heard me say this, but I say this a lot. The question for that is, how long would you like a 4-year-old to hang on to the emotion that you're experiencing? And we all know that children do experience their emotions, and that's fabulous. Emotions are all there for a reason, but they tend to move through them. They tend to get angry, and then a few minutes later, it's like they've processed it, especially if you're allowing them to process it, and then they get through it. So that's what we encourage you to do. But because as adults, we have often suppressed emotion for so long, that it does take something like a tapping technique to help us even to access even the deeper emotions, because we've just got good at. So the tapping will actually help you to allow more of the suppressed emotions to come up, which is why I suggest coming along and doing tapping with a practitioner in the beginning, because in the beginning it can tend to have that process happens, which is a really good thing. I explain it like most people who are into health have experienced doing something like a juice fast, and tapping is a bit like the juice. Like you put the juice into your body, and all of a sudden you've got rashes and things like that, because the body is getting rid of toxins. It's doing what it needs to do, and tapping can be a process like that. Like finally you're allowing the body to be calm, And so it starts going into healing mode and saying, well, here's some more processed emotions. So if you feel like that sounds a bit scary, that's why we have support, and you can send us a message and ask more about how we could support you to really move through some of the biggest stuff, because I really recommend doing that with somebody else if that's how you feel. But you can just start tapping on these kinds of things in the beginning and really, really start to make a difference in your life.
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
So a good start would be to come along to our Thursday night tap along sessions,
Yeah.
8 p.m. Brisbane time every Thursday. And you can either watch live here in Facebook or actually join us in the Zoom chat room and engage through the chat box. Without, you don't have to speak or show your image, but you can ask questions or talk about your own experiences as you tap along with us and in the chat box.
Yeah, that's really good. And the other thing I just wanted to mention in this video is that when you are triggered, all the blood basically rushes into the organs to help you go into fight, flight, or freeze mode. And so it runs out of the prefrontal cortex, out of the part of your brain that is for making win-win, being creative, working out a win-win scenario, which is something we really encourage parents to start thinking in terms of win-win. But when you're triggered, that is almost impossible because the brain is doing other things. It is preparing for fight, flight, or freeze. And so that's another really good reason. If you're into conscious parenting and gentle parenting, you're better off to spend 2 or 3 minutes tapping when you're triggered, to know that on the other side of that is going to be a much better response to your child than if you didn't do that. Because you're trying to create a win-win scenario in the heat of, if you're triggered and the heat of the moment, is just not really going to happen, just because of the way the brain functions. And so even to kind of remember that piece of information, it's like, better do some tapping first. Because it's apart from all the subconscious programming, the brain, it doesn't, it's just not going to work very well in that moment. So that's another cool thing to remember.
Yeah.
And so otherwise, come along,
awesome.
Join our tapping nights. Start just experimenting, using it. And we're always here if you've got any questions around this. I also have a tapping video that you can tap along to. I think it's under #tapping. So if you look that up, search in the group for that, you can find my tapping video. Yep. That was the heat of the moment one. Yes.
Heat of the moment tapping.
Yes.
I think it's called.
Okay.
And we're also on YouTube, Instagram. So if you know anyone who may benefit from what we're sharing here, please, please, please let them know, invite them along and share this with them.
Yes. And if you've liked this video, then put a like so that people can see that, we're here, and it's valuable information for parents.
Yeah, certainly is.
All right.
Yeah,
we'll
cool.
See you next week.
Thank you so much. See you next Wednesday.
Thank you for being here, Anna and Rosie. Thank you. Good to see you.
Remember, you are an awesome parent.
Yes, you are all amazing, awesome parents.
Yeah. Have a great week.